Nobody is born with a mindset. It is so patronizing. We just need to work on the incentives. What incentives do we create to encourage people who are into wealth creation to do the right things? And then what penalties are we using? The kind of danger are we creating for those who come to abuse these programs? These are what we are trying to do with Ochichi to improve the performance of our wealth funds, and they are improving. For example, for PDM, we did 3 things. One is to ensure that fully it is system-based. There is a system which identifies the beneficiary, the PDMIS. They identify them in their groups. Then we said, okay, we have identified that beneficiary in Rwampara. How do we send the money to that beneficiary? You remember before, this money used to go to the local government. And I told people, you remember we had this conversation here, money does not pass through a middleman. There is what we call a leaky bucket syndrome. So the money now jumped through a system called Wendy, direct to the person on their phone. That solved the many problems. Then we asked another question. Okay, the money has been delivered. What is this person using the money for? What is he doing with the money? How are we going to find out as government? That's when we brought in the Zaidi. Zaidi is a system managed by our security institutions to help us, because our colleagues there, the spy people, spying group, I told them you are spying on all of us. Why don't you spy on these people who are receiving the money? What are they doing with the money? So they generated a system, and it tells us in real time what the person is doing, which livelihood enterprise, and how is it growing. And it has helped also. So those things, we want to do them across board in all of the wealth funds. I'm going to be now very fast with the Honorable Kugonza. Thank you very much for the feedback. On the priorities of the ministry vis-a-vis the development plan, as you are aware, NDP4 is about ATMs and their enablers. I should summarize it that way. It's a plan which is very clear: ATMs and enablers. The ATMs, we know them. The enablers are 8 of them: the security, the human capital development, infrastructure, irrigation, industrial parks, regional integration, preserving the environment, and fighting corruption. Now, overall, our objective of NDP4 is to achieve 10-fold growth. And then socio-economic transformation. And finally, full monetization of the economy. That's the NDP4. Now, what role are we playing as a Ministry of Finance is what we included in there. We have the overall, of course, mandate of fiscal policy management, of national planning and budgeting overall as a ministry, and also of accounting, internal controls, and audit policies. However, as far as NDP4 core programs are concerned, which are 10, what the gentleman here, the policy analyst, was telling us is that we are mainly doing for full monetization. It is a responsibility of the Ministry of Finance to ensure that we provide the wealth funds. Then value addition, especially on oil and gas, because UNOC is our entity falling under ministry, and then other entities that are adding value. Then reduce the cost of credit. Give money to UDB, give money to Emioga, and all these others grant what we are saying, so that people can access money at relatively cheaper cost. And finally, collect revenue. Now, that does not mean that the other 6, we are not doing anything, we are not prioritizing them. We are supporting the entire government to implement them. But these ones are strictly Ministry of Finance has a direct role there. If we don't do...
Chair, my concern on this was just very simple.
Yes.
I clearly understand your submission, but you are not actually Minister of Finance only. You are Minister of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development.
Yes.
And at the moment you start talking about that these other things which we handle, but the entire country, its economy, is under Minister of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development. And that's certainly not your problem, because that is how we are structured. But going forward, actually, if we want to have proper alignment, in my view, I think we needed to do something beyond that. It's not a decision for this. But during those discussions elsewhere, I think we need to have a separation where the finance aspect is completely on its own, and the other one that is for the planning and economic management is certainly on its own. And then you would be overseeing the entire everything.
Through Chair, we were there before. That model did not work well. The year was 1992 when a decision was taken to merge these 2 ministries and ensure that a dotted line is put in place to get an accounting officer of a ministry which deals with the issues of the ministry like any other ministry. They may go beyond the ministry into the big economy, but then there is also an overall accounting officer of government called a secretary to treasury, to ensure that we don't lose both the fiscal discipline, but also what you are talking about, the economic development. Now, Honorable Isiagi talked about, apart from GROW, which I've explained, vote 130, why a vote? I think this is a conversation I will need to have with the Honorable Ministers and Honorable Isiagi. And we explain on why we need a vote to ensure that there is a strict accountability of our obligations, on our obligations. You know, Uganda has stayed very solid on the macro and fiscal frameworks and stability, overall stability, mainly because of our ability to pay our obligations without compromise. Okay? And they pay on time and account. Sometimes it may even require that they do whatever is necessary not to default. And Uganda has never defaulted because of that. Honorable Katesh, what's the role of government-owned banks? So Q1, there is no need for any worries. In one quarter it may be 5, in another quarter it is 9, and then you average. So we go by the overall. Actually, I didn't intend to start reporting quarterly at this point because there are lags in it. So I want to assure you that we are going to grow much faster this year than what we did last year, despite this being an election year. That is uncharacteristic of how things are done in a normal life. We are doing quite well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Bwana PSS President. So let's allow the Minister and PSST.
You came when you were thin. What is happening? I think